I'll open us up with a quick prayer. To thee, O Lord, we give thanks for this moment to share the word of truth with Mr. Ben Taylor. And we give thanks for all other beings that have stepped forth to come forward and share their truth. And we ask that only the highest truth may be spoken amongst both beings in this interaction. Amen.
Amen.
Dude, so say your name 3 times for me. It helps me tune into your energy. And then I'll say my name 3 times for you.
Okay. Ben Taylor. Ben Taylor. Ben Taylor.
Oh, this one's going to be a funny one. Taylor Ben Tarood. Taylor Ben Tarood. Taylor Ben Tarood. All right, man. One more thing, and then we're off to the races. I'm going to lift the anchor of Satori, which is, she is a big anchor.
Oh, here she comes.
Here she comes. So I'm picturing a ship sailing the infinite of space, and it's flying already, but there's an anchor that's coming up.
You need an anchor.
We're sending it. We do, even in space. Right?
She's a beautiful anchor. Look at her. Jesus
Right? Oh
Christ.
my God.
She's shining.
Coming up.
Cosmic dust all over her.
As
Bring
big-
her in. Bring her in.
As big as the moon.
Almost bigger, yeah. Get her up here. Come on. Let's set sail.
Dude. So this episode style is called a Satori story, where we get to go into Ben Taylor's Satori story. Now, Satori is a word that means awakening. I think it's a Buddhist or Japanese term, but it essentially refers to enlightenment or your awakening. And we all have various different awakenings in this life. And so I want to go and steer this ship with you through the infinite, where I get to go through your story of this incarnation and how you came to the, let's call it, first Satori like moment in your life. Because there is many, but there's typically one that is maybe a bit bigger or more prominent, or you're really like, oh yeah, man, that's when I was like, whoa, there was a moment. And so I first want to give a little bit of, I want to dive into the background of you and go a little bit of context, just so people can kind of sense where you currently are before we, go all the way back and go through your whole life story in this journey. And also I want to be conscious of time. We have 2-ish hours because 3:30 is your.
We could go to 4.
Okay.
But yeah.
Noted. Okay. Dude, so first of all, how old are you?
I'm 37.
Wow. And where were you born?
I was born in Watford, which is it's on the edge of London.
Yeah.
It's a big town on the edge of London.
You have the most beautiful voice ever.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Yeah, and you look just like me. It's a weird thing. We have a similar vibe. Okay. Parents, were they with you during childhood?
They were.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
Did you have great parents that raised you?
I did.
Wow. Okay.
I did.
So childhood was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I like to always, my parents were amazing, taught me so much, and were always doing their best, Yep. It doesn't, we all have unconscious behaviors that we then maybe work through when we're a bit older, but yeah, they were great.
They did their best.
They were good.
And they were there for you.
They were there for me.
Wow. Okay,
for sure.
Same. Love that. So this might just throw you into the infinite, but tell me, do you believe in God?
So the short answer is yes. I guess because of my upbringing, which was non-religious and almost positively atheist, I would say, in some ways, and just the kind of the environment I've grown up in, it's quite a loaded term.
Yes, it is a loaded term.
It is a loaded term.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, including myself, it had a lot of connotations, some of which would conjure up control, organized religion, sometimes, often doing a great job, often not doing such a good job as well. So, yes, I do believe in God. I see it more as an energy.
Love that.
Yeah, I think for now, I'm exploring and I'm always open-minded. But the short answer is yes.
Okay, and so when did you first come to that short answer of yes?
First time was when I was 19, 20. I was at art school in Cornwall, which is a really beautiful peninsula in the southwest of England, surrounded by the Atlantic to the north and the Channel to the south, and lots of free-spirited, open-minded people end up in this sock of England. It's a beautiful spot.
I love that.
And some radical thinkers and alternative thinkers, and a space where you can start to explore what you think and how you feel about certain things.
Whoa, a safe space.
A safe space, for sure, generally speaking. And Watford is essentially suburban London. It's a town on the edge. And with that comes lots of beautiful things. I would say a leaning towards more conventional thinking. And actually, conventional thinking in the UK is being atheist. For sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is I was down in Cornwall, learning to surf, being in nature for the first time for a kind of continued period of time. And I definitely had a spiritual awakening, as they say, as they like to say in the business.
That's great.
As they like to say. Yeah. But it did feel a little bit like I wasn't particularly grounded, and it felt a little bit floaty and a little bit unsettling, actually. And I think, yeah.
What happened?
I'd come out of a kind of darker spot. So I'd gone to Cornwall. I'd been traveling around the world for 7 months.
Whoa, okay. 19.
19, it was solo traveling most of that, and
nice.
A beautiful experience, expanded my horizons, gave me the flavor of what is out there, all these different beautiful beings, different ways of thinking, different ways of living. And then went to Cornwall, which was amazing, but then it got, the kind of the whole sort of, we have university freshers week, we call it. I mean, you just basically get hammered and you drink a lot and party. And then I was doing that a lot, and then you're like, okay, this is kind of grinding me down, but this is the status quo and what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
And then I was getting a little bit ground down. Mood was probably not where it should have been, or where I would have liked to have been, should I say.
Yeah.
And then kind of pulled out of that lull, if you like.
Yeah.
And went into really found a spiritual sense of who I am, and felt very connected to something that was greater than myself, right? You have that inner knowing that you're not alone, and that the synchronicities and the powers that be, if you like, nature, chi, life force, God is present. But I wasn't really in an environment where people again were believing that. And I think it was, for myself and my friends, it more looked like I was sort of having like a mini breakdown.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, kind of going from a low, and everyone was used to me being low because I'd been in this was a new environment at university. So, you know, you take what you see from a person.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I wasn't in a good place.
Yeah.
And then I kind of raised a bit. I would say I was joyful and kind of, this is amazing, and life and excited and healthy, and I, you know, kind of jubilant. But I think it was a juxtapose. It was a slight contradiction to the person that I had been before.
Yes.
So that was the first time.
Satori.
Yeah, the first Satori. But then I let go. I was like, I felt like I was going a bit mad. You know, I felt like I wasn't grounded anyway. So it was a bit too much that first time round.
Where you were feeling this sense of infiniteness, and
I felt really.
It almost felt like it was too much.
It was too much.
Whoa.
It was too much energy, too much boundlessness, too much dissipation between myself and everything else. I didn't need anything. I didn't want any belongings. I wanted to just either travel with nothing or...
Incredible.
Yeah.
People would call this a hippie.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, come on.
I don't know what other term they would use. Don't be a hippie.
I would say guilt is charged. Guilt is charged. But this is a bit. It's an odd behaviour from a boy from Watford. Watford is a working class town, and it's steeped in excessive drinking and violence, and it's a beautiful place with a good mix of people, but it's quite tough. You definitely don't really get hippies from Watford. You get fighters. You get Anthony Joshua, the one of the heavyweight champions of the world. You know, it's a tough place for sure.
Yeah.
I had good parents, so I just about kept on the rails, but I was close, like quite a lot of the time.
Got it. Yeah, close. On the knife's edge.
A little bit.
So what was the catalyst, though, that brought you to this place at 19 where you're like, whoa, and you're in this infinite space? Was there a catalyst of some sort, like a book or something you saw or someone you talked to?
It was love.
Love?
It was love.
Did you have a relationship?
Yeah, it was love had sparked it.
Wow.
It was love with a really beautiful soul woman who was connected with nature and animals.
Oh, wow.
And she showed me she wasn't religious. She came from a Catholic background, but she was inherently Catholic, as Catholic people often would describe themselves, culturally Catholic, I would say.
Oh wow, yeah.
And falling in love with her and her very alternative. It wasn't a conscious thing, but I think it allowed me to explore and express a certain side of myself. And then the feeling of, it was my first love. So that deep love.
Wow, your heart just like.
My heart was open. So then it was open to everything. Source, God, whatever you might call it. I then became very connected with that and very connected with her at the same time.
Wow. And then your friends are all like, man, this guy's insane.
A little bit. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them
either.
I mean, maybe I am a little bit insane, but I think we all are, right?
Yeah,
we all are.
Yeah. So this is wonderful. By the way, have some tea. It's like a perfect temperature.
Thank you. Beautiful.
So, 19 in this relationship, heart opens. Wow, and then there's almost this sense of, I don't know, this is a bit too much maybe at this time in my life. So where do you go from there? Do you kind of just...
I went into a deep depression and put on, you know, something like 60 pounds or something. Damn. And put on a load of weight, got really fat.
Wow.
Really low self-esteem, and I was embarrassed by...
Why did that happen?
I was embarrassed by how I felt and how I was expressing myself.
Wow.
And even though looking back, you know, I was worried at the time. Was it a mania? You know, was I manic, or was that some kind of psychosis? That was what I felt like. You know, we're not mind readers, but you feel like that might have been a judgment, but I know that it wasn't. But at the time, it certainly that's the only way I could rationalize what I'd gone through. It was some short period of insanity, basically. That's how I felt. Wow. So then it was shame. And
that's incredible.
Yeah.
In reference to your heart opening and this beautiful experience, which is just not necessarily understood because maybe you don't have other people around you to make you feel like, oh, this is wonderful. Like, instead you're just like isolated maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. And I think there's no blame on the people around me because I think I wasn't grounded at the same time. And that's the important thing. I think if you're going on that spiritual journey and you're open to the energies that are beyond us, that can be really exciting.
Yeah.
And it can be quite life-changing because if you're not ready for it, you will think that everything is kind of pointless, but beautiful, but pointless.
Wow. It's a really good call out. I have a thing on the ship for moments like this. It's a little bell. Wait, let me ring it one more time. Nice. It's a bell just because there's moments where I'm like, whoa. Yeah. And that was a moment.
Oh,
because
lovely.
I remember being in that spot where I was just like, man, all this like love stuff is insane. I don't know. Like it put the psychic with blood, like, I was just like, let me just make some money and figure out this wealth thing because damn, I'm not going to be someone that is working for someone else. So that stuff's all dumb. And I just shoved it aside like completely. And I think that's what you were just referencing of like, a lot of people aren't really, they just look at it and they're like, oh, that's kind of dumb. Like, what? And I had a lot of judgments actually towards people who were, let's say, on the spiritual path and they were just tuning into their own energies and other energies. And they were in this realm that's almost, to me at the time, not here. And I'm like, where are you? You know, why are you doing all that stuff? Like, learn, like, da 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 da. Like, yeah.
It completely resonates with me. You're so right, Taylor. I then lent into very rational thinking for many, many years.
Yeah.
And also I knew in the back of my mind, my higher self, you know, my subconscious, whatever you like to call it, God within me, I knew that there was so much more, but I had to prove myself in business.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
We're one and the same.
Yeah, I think you might have felt that.
Oh, yes.
Because you knew that we wouldn't be taken seriously by our parents or our peers.
Oh, we had that. Yeah.
If one hasn't built something in the accepted way,
paradigm,
the accepted
narrative,
way. Yeah. And look, I'm sure we'll come onto this later, but it very much resonates. I think we probably have a similar take, which is, I want to connect with this and I want to let go and I don't want to have to be thinking about numbers and business. I want to feel it.
Yeah.
But I truly see business for me and day-to-day life as a spiritual journey as well.
Whoa.
It really is.
It is.
It isn't necessarily, if you have the fortune of being in a beautiful spot with plant medicines and meditation and great people around you, please, like that is a wonderful thing. And if there's any judgment from me, it's from jealousy because I'm like, I think I want to do that. But really, this isn't me just painting a rosier picture of reality. But life is so tough for everyone. A lot of the time, it's really difficult.
Yeah, it is.
It's constant challenges and uphill battle. It's even if you're struggling financially, it's a bloody struggle. If you're running a company, it's a bloody struggle. And if you're in the middle, it's difficult. And then people die and get ill and you get ill. And just when you think it's okay, something else happens. But really the learning is in the challenges. And it's, what has that taught me? Did that happen for a reason? Was that the universe? Was that just society or nature holding up something towards me that I needed to get through or learn?
Yeah.
And I guess I've gone off on a slight tangent here, Taylor, but just to round up that particular point, I really feel as though life in its mundanity and hardships of getting up in the dark, rain, wintry London at 6:30 in the morning to go and do a job. That's the key. That is part of the key, I think, because you need that. I do think there's something in that grit and perseverance and getting over adversity that enriches the spiritual journey, and then also has allowed me at the age of 37 to come back to harnessing and integrating a more spiritual life, but in a grounded way, where I don't have to be like, whoa, this is so exciting. Like, why aren't you, look at this thing that I found. I'm not sure what it is, but I feel wicked. And it's it's ungrounded, a little bit airy.
Yeah, it is.
And now I'm a lot more ready to integrate that. And also as a businessman, you have a little bit more clout, and you've proved yourself within the realms of accepted.
And the root chakra.
Yeah.
I'm taken care of down there.
Man.
Amen.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I went off on a slight tangent there, Taylor.
That was great. I really loved that. And I feel all of that so deeply. And like, if it was easy to come into a place of having freedom financially, everyone would do it. And there's that classic, sense of, man, if it was easy, it wouldn't be so great,
Definitely.
And it's the same thing with the spiritual journey, I think. So there's, classically in the spiritual journey, it's like, the goal is maybe enlightenment, right? If you're someone who's really going to go down the path as far as possible, you maybe strive for something like Buddha or Krishna or Christ, or having some sense of ultimate realization. But yeah, it's not that easy, man. And I love what you said earlier about how it's part of the spiritual pathway where all of life is the spiritual journey. When I'm washing the dishes, I'm not washing the dishes in a rush to get to the next thing and then get to the next thing. Or I'm not bitter that someone left something out on the counter because now I have to do it. And there's the opportunity to be at peace and find love is just as much at doing the dishes as it is with your partner that you love so deeply and you may have an intimate relationship with. It's it's one and the same.
I completely agree. I think the washing the dishes analogy is perfect, because there are so many opportunities for us to be moaning in our heads.
Oh yeah.
All the time. That. And it will never stop.
Never.
Oh, I couldn't get in to here earlier. That's annoying. I was waiting outside for 10 minutes. Or was it annoying? Or am I in the countryside and it's peaceful?
Yeah.
And you have these opportunities at every point of your life. Don't get me wrong, when things are tough and you're in a tough situation, and also if you're not dealt even cards at the beginning, it does make it tougher as well.
For sure. Yeah.
But we have the personal responsibility for ourselves to reframe whenever we can. Reframing is the key, and just catching yourself when you're becoming a victim, you're moaning, you're blaming someone else, you're not taking responsibility, even if someone has treated you in a certain way.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain things that are absolutely, unforgivable, but interactions, we have a responsibility for how we turned up and what we did and what our intentions were. But I love that dishwasher analogy, because it's ready for us at every point. Yeah. But it is it's daily.
Yeah.
You need to keep at it.
Yeah. Wow. So I want to go back to your Satori story timeline. We jumped to the now a little bit, which is fine, but so 19, you kind of go back into maybe a more grounded, logical, rational place, intellectual, let's say. What happens? How long is it until you come back to this spiritual place, let's say?
Yeah, I would say not until COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Incredible.
Zero.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so special.
Yeah, a little bit of like, but really, no, very hyper rational.
Whoa.
That was too scary what I went through. I felt connected to everything. I felt like I was floating.
Whoa.
I felt untethered. I felt like I felt all sorts of things and I wasn't sure what was happening. So I turned my back on that. And it was time to graft.
What happened?
It was time to make my dad proud. It was time to be rational and go with what was around me and the thinking and
love that
and go with that, right?
Yeah,
and then this
sure.
is what everyone else thinks. I can just go home and watch television with adverts and make some money and repeat. And then that's what we're here for, right? To watch telly. To go back, as Alan Watts once said, to spend your days doing a job that you hate, to return home, to switch on an electronic box, which is showing a version of reality that you're then watching, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not digging out telly. I like a Netflix, I like a good film. I like cinema, there's no, I'm not being a snob, but if you're spending 5 hours a day
oh dear Lord
doing that, it's, and that, not that I was doing that. I was living life and beautiful friends that I still have, and an exciting life. It quite an alcohol and drug fueled life, I would say. But again, that's part of the journey.
Part of the journey.
Part of it. Yeah.
For some people, yeah, for sure.
For some, not necessary. Please don't necessarily do that. Skip that bit. It's not needed.
No, man, I think we were in the same path in terms of just like being in this rational, intellectual place of, just being rooted in rationality. And so tell me about COVID. What happens? How do you come back?
So COVID, quiet hits, business plummets. What I had worked to build up over many years was being taken.
Whoa.
As one would see it at that time. And that slightly kind of controlling manner that we all have.
Yeah.
And a break from my surroundings and London and time to go inward.
Wow.
I was by myself in a flat in Hackney in East London, and I was there and meditating a lot and starting to get back in touch with things that we can't see.
Whoa.
Yeah. And feeling things and stopping.
Whoa.
And allowing those energies to circulate through my body.
Mm.
And the longer that you lie down or sit down and be quiet, the nicer you feel. The better you are at being with your own thoughts or quietening your thoughts to maybe nothing. And then you have honeydew light trickling in from the top of your head. then you cannot ignore this. Come on. This is a thing. Even with my kind of poor short-term memory and tricky attention span, I was like, this needs to be followed. But then, to be honest, the similar thing happened again where I didn't feel grounded.
Wow.
I didn't have the support network.
Right.
I was in London. I couldn't find that particular tribe. I had beautiful friends, as I said, that I still have, but that's not so much their calling, right? That's not so much their thing. So I was feeling untethered again. And I felt like, is this me? Is this, honestly, is this like a mental health thing?
Wow, yeah.
That's the concern.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the concern. I was also having thyroid issues, which seems to be it's a little bit linked with the kind of the lowness and anyone who's had a thyroid issue will understand it's a very debilitating disease, Hashimoto's hyperthyroidism. People can't see it, but it has a whole host of your hair falls out, you have constant migraines,
Whoa.
body pains, you can't move. And look, once again, I'm not like being a victim here, because compared to other people, I was in a much better place, but I felt very, very unwell for a long time.
Whoa.
And then I was coming back to this spiritual nirvana, I would say. You feel like you're embodying some kind of divine energy.
Yeah.
And then this time round, it was ungrounded, because if you don't know what's happening, it's unsettling. So then actually I was like, whoa, I've had enough again.
Wow.
I would like to find a partner. I'm ready to be in love. And actually, I'm ready to find a partner who is hyper rational and materialistic. And yeah, I felt like I needed to. I think I knew I wasn't going to be accepted by friends, dad, family wouldn't understand. Mum would understand, does understand, but so then I turned my back on it again.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't ready for it, and then got the business back up after COVID. Challenge as we all went through a lot in that period of time. And then London, I was like, okay, I've been here for a while, time for something new. Head to Portugal, and then, not to skip ahead too much, but for anyone that doesn't know, Portugal definitely has an environment that invites and cultivates an open mind with radical thinking and more. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a cringy term, but more consciously minded hippies, basically.
Yeah.
But people that are, willing to question the status quo, do things a bit differently and feel into things a little bit more, and not be in the head so much, right? Bring that energy down to the heart and the gut.
Think with the heart. Wow, yeah, I love the way you articulated that. Yeah. Whoa. So you come to Portugal, and what happens? I mean, that's
man.
Here we are in Portugal.
We're here now. This is it. So I come to Portugal 6 months ago. Pretty recent.
From today.
Well, not quite, but 6 months, pretty much. Yeah, I don't think it's the day, but yeah, 6 months.
Wow, incredible.
So pretty fresh in the scheme of things.
Me
from
too.
What I understand.
I'm like 6 months into this too.
Oh man,
maybe like a year at most.
Cool.
Like I would say really like this year.
Into the Satori.
Into this realm that we're even talking about. Because I just exited the business like a month ago.
So may I ask, you didn't have that when you were in the business?
I did have that moment when I was in the business. But like I was still so in the business that I wasn't fully like here.
Yes.
But my story is a whole other thing.
That's another,
Back to you.
So, and actually just off the back of what you're saying, I in London, I'd been doing a lot of ecstatic dance.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, for a couple of years. And that was a big game changer for me.
Yeah.
Because there were people, this was sort of for the last year or 18 months. I'm like, right, okay.
What? What is this?
People, anyone that doesn't know, ecstatic dance, it's meditation through movement. You can express yourself in any way you deem fit. There's often a flow through different kind of energies over a 2-hour set. It's booze free. It's drug free. It's a place to be conscious and connect, and lots of different things come up, and you learn about yourself. You learn about your interaction with men, with women, with all sorts of things. It's been a beautiful vehicle for spiritual growth again.
Wow, yes.
And then suddenly I was looking around, I was like, okay, I didn't think there were consciously minded hippies in London. I thought it was I didn't think those two things went together. And suddenly I was speaking to people that were interested in things that I was interested in, and I didn't, and then I could lean into that a little bit. So that was helping me. And then I was like, right, time to get out of London. Got to Portugal, and then since I've been here, I've had an open mind. If I meet interesting, charismatic North Americans that want to invite me on to podcast, then then I'll say
Rightfully
yes.
so. Aye.
I'll go with the flow.
Yeah.
Within reason.
Within reason.
Within reason. And it's been a hoot, man. It's been I've met some beautiful souls, and it's a wonderful opportunity to lean into different facets of myself, and one of those is having a more spiritual mindset.
Right.
We joke, but it is delicious and gooey and
man, wow, so incredible. Just a brief reflection from me. This is so funny. You come across as someone who has been this way for such a long period of time, and when I first met you, just a fun story for everybody. We're here in Terra Lodge in Portugal, which is this incredible, like, I don't know, it's like a sanctuary that holds many different beings. And there's this kitchen, and I'm standing in the kitchen cooking with Claudia, and Ben walks up to the doorway to walk in the kitchen. He's kind of standing in the doorway with this beautiful smile on his face, and we made eye contact. And I looked at you, and I don't remember the first words, but I think you were like, "Can I come in?" And I was like, "You look like me, man. Like, fuck yeah, you can come in." Like, and it was just this moment of like joy and love from the moment that I saw you and the moment that we started speaking. I mean, just the moment I saw you, you had such a radiance to you. And then the moment we started speaking, it was such a wonderful moment of joy. And it was like filled with laughter and joy and just like ease, you know? And then it was just like, "What's your name?" "Your name's Ben Taylor." "My name's Taylor Ben Tarud." And like you also had a business. So yeah, I had a business. We have like our backgrounds, whatever. And it was just like, whoa, okay, cool. So for me, it's interesting to hear that you've kind of, let's say, taken a big step forward into this whole spiritual life thing, even though life is always spiritual no matter what, even if you don't use these terms. Because wow, I just felt like, wow, this man's been on the journey for quite some time. And you have, but also like me, it's like it's such a new thing that we're really, in terms of just really leaning into it.
Definitely. And actually, one thing to add, I mean, I want to just add, it was a beautiful moment meeting you, and you and Claudia have really gorgeous energies that are soft, intelligent, inviting, safe. You know, it was a lovely. It felt good, right, to have that hug, and
so good.
and it felt right. And I'd been doing some voice activation work where I was singing and expressing myself through primal shouting. And this is the kind of place we're in, right? You can do this kind of thing. It's beautiful, and it's actually really helped me with expressing myself fully, which I'm always leaning into being able to do that as much as possible. But I do want to say off the back of what you said in terms of my journey. My mum is spiritually inclined.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's never used the word. I've never heard her use the word spiritual.
Mine neither.
I've never heard the word hippie.
Yeah,
but she's a radical thinker. She's open-minded.
Whoa.
She would consider herself psychic, and she's given me many examples of that. But these are all things very much in the background. So it's been instilled within me.
Yeah, I can feel that
from like an early age,
and that's why you felt it at 19. You were like,
She knows that we are all one, and we are all connected. And that has been probably, she might not think it every day because she also is rooted in kind of work and lots of different things, but I think she knows deep down, and then that has been passed on to me, which incredible. Has been it's allowed me to access that. So I really, and also I would like to say my dad is very grounded and has always loved the iconography, architecture, symbolism, and ethics of Christianity.
Wow.
So he although I wasn't
highly intelligent being,
he's an intelligent guy. He's a highly intelligent, grounded man. And he was highly judgmental and kept me on the straight and narrow and was this grounded masculine force.
A lot of discipline.
Not quite, because
No?
mum's a free spirit and she knew I was a free spirit. So he wanted to discipline me because he came from that background.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
But it was judgment kept me in the straight and narrow.
Sure, yes.
Hyper judgment, which
yes.
I even up until recently I was like, oh, how dare my dad is so judgmental. I'm free spirited. He doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Like a little only child that I am. Yeah.
Oh.
And then I came to realize actually that stoic, grounded masculinity is powerful.
Super powerful.
And then he was always he showed me that the church isn't all bad. You know, I personally, at the moment, I'm it's not something I've done. I'm not going to church. I really like being in churches and singing in churches, and I would love to go to mosques and synagogues and other places of worship as well. But I suppose my point is, although I'm always like, Mum's a radical thinker and spiritual.
Yeah.
Dad was grounded and really was connected with the history, ethics, and positive outlook that Christianity brings.
Yeah.
Right. Picking and choosing a little bit.
Yes. Wow, so beautiful. We have such similar parents. Such similar. Wow, everything you said just resonates with how I feel about my parents too.
Oh, really?
Dude, something that just came up that I actually wanted to sail back to. We were at.
Please.
You said,
swing around.
Swing around.
Starboard.
See, you know, I need to learn these terms. Starboard is turn her around.
I think starboard is one of the directions.
Okay, so
so they're all based on old Norse. So this is how the Vikings influenced English. So I'll butcher this, but each of those directions is where the Vikings were sailing in different directions.
Incredible.
So I love history, and I like how the English language has been informed by many different people. So we'll figure out which way starboard is, but we'll go starboard.
Let's go starboard.
Because if we just go starboard all the way, then we'll end up turning around anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. So you said something beautiful. You said, not everybody's dealt the best hand. Do you believe that the hand is chosen?
Do you know what? That particular thinking I haven't pondered on for large amounts of time. If I can sort of expand that a little bit and think about karma, and for example, you think about the chaos that the Europeans caused in the Americas and Africa and worldwide, you know, not respecting people's cultures or lands or traditions, and then foisting what we felt was right upon them. I think karmically that comes round in the soul a little bit, and then I think the generations below need to make amends. That's how I feel a little bit. So I know I'm swerving the question. No,
this is good. It's
bit.
a tough question.
It's a tough question because it's tough if you're born without the use of your limbs, or it's like that's tough to say that you were dealt that. That's a tough thing. If I'm totally honest, I'm not sure. I don't know.
That's a good response.
It's not an answer, which is a bit of a cop out. But if
no, it's good. Let me give you
go on
my take, and then I'm curious to hear what you feel. The soul has before it the options available to it based on its karma that has been gained over all of its lifetimes. So it has certain pairs to choose from, but those pairs are limited based on its actions from all lifetimes. So it's sort of like, for me, I imagine if Adolf goes into his next life, Mr. Hitler, he might have to go through a good 1,000,000 or 2 lifetimes where he dies at 1 or 2 years old, or 3 or 4 or 5? I don't know. But what is the karmic retribution for someone that caused that much suffering for that many people? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that is, yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. I'm not sure about Adolf, but I'll speak from an Englishman's perspective, where we are so fortunate to have been born on that island, with the wealth and the opportunities that we have.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it the way that we moan about the weather. And I mean, the weather's bad.
Yeah.
And what else are you going to talk about? We love it. But I think as I've kind of connected with Source a little bit more, and my higher self, and maybe my spirit, I get a sense of, like I said, the chaos that the Northern European, the English, the Dutch, the Belgians, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, you know, in one foul swoop, I love the kind of notion of going off to explore new lands and spices and new people and let's expand the empire, old boy, you know?
Cool. Love it.
More glory.
Yeah.
But at the cost of other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like really at the cost of other people, and then putting other people below us.
Yeah.
And I think I think karmically I have that sense within me, and I think I've had the pleasure of other people around me having a sense of that. You have to be careful that you're not virtue signaling, and you're not like, oh, you know, I'm so sorry for what my ancestors did in the British Empire.
Yeah, it's like,
and it wasn't me.
Yeah.
but and and it wasn't ideal. But I do think that history painted the British Empire in a way too romantic stance for many years for the English, right? And then we needed to correct that. But I guess what I'm coming round to karmically is, I feel a strong sense of needing to level the playing field. Like that is what I felt, and I'm sure we'll come on to that later. But is that karma? Is that my previous souls who were up to no good?
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. Yeah, something I'd like to tune into more. And yeah, I mean, Hitler clearly an incredible communicator, and someone that could have persuaded a country of people to do anything. He could have.
Yeah.
But he chose to persuade them to do really bad things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a tricky one. And then there's that separation between the soul and the higher self and the mind, right?
Yes.
The ego. So what was that Adolf's soul, or was that his that his ego? Was it because when he was at art school, a Jewish lecturer told him that his work wasn't any good,
Something
and he's never going to be an
traumatic.
artist, and then after the First World War, he really believed that the Jews were to blame, and like, right, okay, good cop out, mate. Let's just blame this ethnographic group of people that also happen to be quite good at business, for example. And like, is it because you're a bit jealous? I don't know. Like,
just a projection.
Was that his soul, or was that his
human ego?
Was that his ego? So sorry, I've swerved the question,
no,
Taylor.
It's good.
But
I
went off on a tangent.
These are all the variables that you kind of have to try to take into account when you question the infinite.
Yeah.
Because there's a billion ways to look at it. Right. And I love your variable of like, well, is that him? And is it his spirit? Like, which one is it? And I love that.
But how do you feel, if I'm asking you a quick question, like that balance between the spirit, the higher self, God, source, consciousness, chi, life force, and then Taylor Ben, who's got to build a company and do all these different things. And is it about integration, or I don't know, how do you?
Well, I feel that each individual, let's call it, has a soul and or spirit, and the body is the manifestation of the spirit. And so you are showing up in human form with a spirit tethered to that body. And in that process of living this human experience is the remembrance of, let's call it, your true self, your true nature. If you get to remember that true nature, or that true self, which is your spirit, you kind of come to this place of oneness and realize that you're just one with everybody, and that there is no separation, that you are an infinite being, and that, you know, love is the way. And I do believe strongly that that is within everybody, even the, let's call it, darkest of beings who cause suffering. They're not really to blame, because it's just by virtue of this human thing, which is very primal and has a reptilian brain attached to it. I mean, these things are pretty new. You know, if you look at it like a piece of hardware, like the body, let's say, they're not that advanced. Like, you know, you go back like 500 years and or even just like, you know, 2,000 years, like we just haven't been around that long. But I do feel like we're at the cusp of the spiritual awakening, the Satori of all beings. And I feel that as the human race begins to evolve, we'll shift from like Homo sapiens to Homo spiritus. And Homo spiritus is just, yes, we are human, let's call it Homo, but like we're really spirits in that human form. And so there's this realization, and then you start to feel how, well, what would life look like if everybody knew that they had a spirit and they weren't going to die, and that was going to be it? How would everyone show up? Would you have people walking down the streets depressed or shy or afraid to say hello, or spending like 6 hours on Netflix because they don't feel like they can find their tribe? Would you have people going through this suffering if the masses of the world believed that they were an infinite being? I don't think so. So this is where I'm at with all of that. That's why Satori's here.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wow. What's Homo?
Homo spiritus.
Nice.
A term coined by Dr. David R. Hawkins. Yeah, it's just a being that really helped me in my process of Satori. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, that resonates. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot to bring everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it is edging up.
Uh-huh.
And even things like you know, political movements and happenings can really divide people.
Yes.
But they do raise certain events can raise consciousness.
Sure, of course.
For example, Black Lives Matters, not to get into it too much.
Sure.
But my personal take on that is that it did need to happen, and we did need to just say, hey, it isn't, not me, because I have light skin, but we're still getting judged.
Yeah.
We're still getting pigeonholed.
Yeah.
We're getting put, we're not, come on.
Yeah.
Like, this is not okay.
Yeah, like, let's all wake up.
It's got to be equal, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be equal.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so I just think it happens in lots of different ways, and then there's more.
Yes.
People become more conscious, and you know, but then they can also show up in the world.
Yes.
You know, and then you don't need to tell people that you have Satori.
No.
They can see it and they can feel it.
Yeah.
And then it's actually better you don't say anything at all.
Better you don't say anything.
Yeah, don't say anything.
That's actually a red flag if you start walking around like, oh, I'm this enlightened being. My name's Master O.
Yeah.
Like
it's the ego.
That's the spiritual ego.
The ego, and yeah, I have to keep that in check for sure, because it can, if you feel a certain way and then you're feeling these energies inside of you and synchronicities are happening and angel numbers and all of these lovely things, you're like, oh, what's this? I'm special. I'm special. I'm special. And like, I don't need to be told I'm special. You know, I'm an only child. I had my mum telling me I was special, or have been for 37 years. So
that's amazing. I love that. That's incredible.
But yeah, just feeding off of or leaning on your point of this heightened consciousness and awareness. It's obviously generational. We're talking about hundreds of years rather than in our lifetime.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think people will see. People need to see the benefits, the tangible benefits of being conscious, or maybe not getting absolutely hammered on Friday and Saturday night, feeling so low and anxious on Monday, feeling incredibly disorientated, doing the job that you hate, going home and watching television. And there is nothing wrong in the routine of day-to-day life that 90% of people live.
No,
there really isn't.
Nothing wrong with it.
But if you're unhappy or depressed, the soul is trying to tell you something. I think
it is.
Yeah, and
that's your indicator.
Yeah,
your emotional state.
Yeah, depression can be chemical.
For sure, yeah.
But I would still argue that there's a reason. I didn't listen to my body for a long time, or my mind.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in a good place.
Right.
But I carried on going because I was told that you don't complain, you don't talk about how you're feeling.
Take responsibility.
And you take responsibility, you keep going, and don't make a victim of yourself.
Push
and
on.
you drive and drive and drive. And this is the empire building, masculine stoicness.
Expanding the colony.
Yeah, this is the thing. And but it can be used for greatness as well.
For sure.
That's a powerful force that and it can be limitless if you look after yourself. But my quick note on that, and it might resonate with people, it's tough, but even when it's chemical and it's the thyroid and other issues that are causing lower mood or kind of a discontent, one needs to look in and explore that.
That was a bell.
2 bells.
Mate,
say that.
You're getting a lot of bells in here. I actually had another moment. I forgot to bell it, but keep going. Okay. The chemicals is a
so yeah, like for
inward.
Go inward and have a look.
Wow.
Are you using social media too much? Are you focused on projecting an image of yourself, and that's created a fixed mindset of who you are?
Mask.
Yeah, one needs to flow a little bit more. You have an open mind.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in cultivating certain facets of yourself that need to grow in order for your glass to be full, so you can help fill other people's glasses up. I
love that.
You can't be helping other people incessantly when you haven't got yourself sorted out emotionally, psychologically, financially, right? To show up, one needs to ground oneself in those different areas. And then another I'm pinching this from Naval, and I'm going to butcher his surname. He's an American guy of Indian heritage. Naval Rava something, and I'm sorry that I can't remember his surname, but I heard him say that happiness is a choice.
Wow.
It's a really tough thing to swallow.
Wow.
But if you buy into that, it's powerful. And I realize that people will be thinking, but come on, look at my cards.
Look at what I.
But babes, that's you going into the victim. You're then at the mercy of your circumstances. And I pray that
just got chills.
And the more that I've lent into that, the happier I've been, because there is a science to it. Of course, we then feed into spirituality and feeding your soul and making sure that we're spreading joy, love, kindness, understanding, and patience wherever possible. but I'm on that note, I'm still a very flawed man in various ways. I look to iron those
have yet
flaws
to see
out.
them.
Well, yeah, you have to be. I mean, flawed is maybe a bit strong, but in the scheme of things, but
we're all working through things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good, but I'm not an angel, like I'm not. And I think anyone that's trying to paint themselves as this ultra pious individual, you're having a laugh, man.
What does pious mean?
Pious is, oh God, you're getting me. I believe pious is almost sort of religious, like perfect, like so kind, so loving, so pious, so perfectly.
Pious. I love that word.
I believe.
Nice.
I mean, I may have got not quite hit the mark, but it's more or less that. But when you see that holier than thou. Holier than
that's
thou,
a good one. Okay,
right? But sometimes I'm going to get into some circumstances with a guy with a big ego, and I'm not always going to be able to breathe through that.
Remain peaceful.
I'm not going to. I'm the type of the animal that I am.
You're a warrior.
I'm a warrior.
I can feel it.
I'm a warrior. So I've got the spirit. It's in my veins.
Yeah.
And other male egos trigger me.
Clash.
Whoa! But I have one. I'm working through that. There's something I'm working through.
Wow. Well, hold on. I just wanted to say there was something you said earlier which was incredible. It was this. A lot of what you just said was incredible. Let me go back. Sometimes these threads are so deep in the infinite ocean that it's hard to kind of swim back to where you were previously and try to find it. You were saying you pray for all beings. What were we talking about before this?
Spreading, making sure that you spread love, kindness, acceptance, patience.
Yes, a little bit before that.
The cards that you're dealt with.
Yes, the cards.
And then taking ownership of your happiness and hoping
happiness is a choice.
Yeah, I mean, look, I am the caveat. Just quickly, we'll go back to you. But
go.
The caveat is, touch wood, like if I had a car accident and my legs were chopped, like, man, that's gonna make me super unhappy.
Yeah,
like, for quite a while. But hopefully, I would get through that. Hopefully, I would transcend that. So I really want to kind of paint the caveat to that, which is life is difficult and things come up, and I'm not saying that I'm skipping around the whole time, like I just trolling dog shit. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
It's not the case.
I love this point though, because it's so easy to be a victim, man.
Yeah.
It is so easy.
I do it.
It's one of the easiest things ever. And I've been in that place for the vast majority of this life. I've had victim mentality, actually. And it's very recent that I feel like for the vast majority of my life now, I'm out of that. I actually feel like for quite some time, I've been fully out of this victim mindset where I feel like I'm being attacked per se, and I'm not taking responsibility for it. But wow, it is so much harder and it's the higher path to take ownership, realize that everything is happening for you.
Nice.
And be at peace with whatever unfolds in this life. That's just like, whoa, man. Like, to do that is harder, but that's that sense of happiness as a choice. So I love that you brought that up and you gave some really beautiful references.
It's something I try to fall back on when I go into the like pity party.
Yeah, pity party.
I'm not as well as I could be, or should be making. Oh, that person isn't doing what I want them to do. Yeah. Oh, the weather, it's raining. Oh, it's like, come on, man.
Life's not good enough.
It's not good. Oh, it isn't what I thought it was gonna be. I need more money, and then I'll be happy. Or I need a better girl. I need the
car is not fast enough.
Yeah, it's always
house
there.
Isn't big enough.
Yeah, and look, we are conditioned to think like that, and then also not to just blame society and
for sure
and what we're shown. There is a biological need to want a better life for ourselves, because there are the different layers of who we are, right? So we are animals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we can't always choose the higher path, but there is a deep sense of, I'm a human and I would like to pass on my genetics to the next generation. And that's on several different levels. You want to do it from a very base animal level of passing on your genetics, which is all very much hardwired within us.
Yeah.
And then you want to give your children the opportunities you didn't have, and you want the next stage of life and all of those different things. And in order to do that, we want to have financial security and lots of different things. So the point I'm making is sometimes the pity parties can be useful to harness a notion and mindset of, my glass is half full.
Yeah.
It's not half empty.
Yeah.
Life can give me more and there can be more abundance, but I am constantly grateful for my heart beating. I've got some food. I've got shelter. And I think I want a little bit more. But I'm super grateful for what I've got. And rather than this isn't enough, because we're obviously treading on territory well explored on podcasts, but money doesn't make you happy, but it's useful. So what is the mindset that you carry through when you are looking to create some security? But just remember that if you've got the shelter and everything, you're kind of sorted, but often it takes people to strive for great wealth to realize that I had it all along. It was there anyway. But it's the story of Buddha, right? Buddha was affluent. He was a prince. So he had all that money. So he had all that time to be in his head, and he had all that time to explore God and spirituality. And then it was like, I had everything. So that enabled me to realize that I needed nothing. But if you're from a challenging socioeconomic background, damn, you just need a bit of cash. And also, the masculine wants freedom, right? We want freedom. Wow, so we don't want to be told what to do. No. And that is every man on every level. So we know that if we can have our own business, or if we can even be an Uber driver, or have some kind
anything of our own,
if we're not being, someone isn't telling us what to do, who might just be an idiot as well. And you're like, oh my God, I'm being subjugated by this fool. So I guess on that point as well, it's a very natural urge to want freedom, particularly for the masculine, and to not want to be answering to someone else. And then of course that leads into, if you are a manager or business owner, trying your best to treat people as you would want to be treated. But we were talking about pity parties and victimhood. It's unpopular because it feeds, I don't just want to probably steer clear of politics, but I think it's a tricky one to swallow, because if it's all about if it's about responsibility and taking onus, that wipes out a lot of people's political thinking.
It's a tricky. There's so much context.
There's context to that,
and you can't necessarily look at it and think, oh well, then and that's where a lot of arguments unfold, as people take things so black and white.
Yes.
And it's just like, well, no, hold on. It's all contextual. This is true in a certain context. And I see where you're going with that.
I completely agree. The context is so right, because you do need a bit of a hand if you're in a society that has some cash and you haven't, it's a tricky upbringing, right? It's good to have a bit of a safety net and et cetera, but there comes a point where I think we all need to remember that it's down to us. The buck stops with us. For sure.
Dude, I wanted to ask you this. What is karma to you? Because I think for me, karma is such an important concept in helping people come to this understanding that it is all up to us, and that the cards we were dealt in a certain sense are perfect, and so what is karma to you?
Yeah. So it's what is karma? Okay, so the way I currently look at karma, because I don't have a fixed mindset and I'm always taking on new information, is I think it is ancestral. I think it does go deep. I think it feels like I have the karma of many generations that have gone before me, who were doing their best within the current environment.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know that. It's not as if like I know that one of my family members was involved with the slave trade or was directly involved in sticking the Union Jack in the peninsula of South Africa or something. I don't know that. I guess it's more. I see that as kind of like a shared karma that might not be direct, but it could be a national karma. It could be just an energetic karma on the land of the United Kingdom, but definitely a blood karma as well, like a kind of a generational karma of there have been some wrongdoings.
Yeah,
I do believe that. And we're in a time now where I have the responsibility and other people have the responsibility karmically to make amends as well. And I think you see that with I just think the story of the UK, right? If we just look at the history of we look at the people that came to England. It was the Germanic, the kind of the barbarians and the warriors from actually Northern Holland, Germany, Denmark, and then it was the Vikings from Scandinavia.
Yeah,
it was already going to be about let's go and take some shit over. Let's come on, let's be expansive.
Yeah,
I'm bored. I need some more money and women.
No, fully.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's
conquering.
It's conquering, and like I have that in me.
Yeah.
I feel that it's so in my like DNA, and it's not just a romanticism. It's a feeling I have.
Yeah. Wow.
But I channel it in a very different way. So we had that right from the outset. And before that, we had the Romans and we had the ancient Britons for many years, for thousands of years. And actually, ancient Britons were dark-skinned.
Whoa.
They had blue eyes, but dark skin. Cheddar Man, look at Cheddar Man.
Okay, wow.
They found him in a gorge in Western Britain. His skin was almost black. He had blue eyes.
Oh, this is where we need a TV, and I can see
he was cool, man. So
Whoa.
I guess what I'm trying to paint this picture of inclusion and diversity.
No, it's great.
So like you have. I mean, I don't think we'll come back to that, but so we have this history.
Yeah.
Then we go off and we're conquering, and we have the biggest empire that's ever been, and we're this rich, powerful nation in charge of millions of people. The sun never sets on the British Empire. It's so vast.
Yeah.
Subjugation, putting people down, pilfering resources, enslaving along the way in West Africa and other places. Not being cool, basically. Like, definitely not a higher consciousness there. That isn't what God would want.
Not rooted in love.
That ain't rooted in love, man. That's
a lot of control and power.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I like about where we're at is that you have this rise and rise and rise and rise. You have the First World War. The British defeat the Germans with the help of other nations, including the Americans, the Canadians, the Australians, lots of French. But that was the beginning of the end for the empire. We go into the Second World War, and I'm proud that we stuck up to Hitler, and we knew that he was a bad egg. Yeah. And I don't think the British knew about the extermination camps. I don't think we didn't know about it until the end.
Wow.
So we can't say that we were like right on there with the side of, fighting genocide.
Yeah.
But we did have integrity, and it involved war, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I do think that sometimes has to happen.
Sometimes it has to happen. Yeah.
Because old Adolf was running riot, man.
Oh yeah, and if we just let him go, I mean, whoa.
What would have happened? And Churchill had his misgivings. He was of his time.
Yeah.
Very much racist by today's standards.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
But it's complicated. He did stand up to Hitler.
Yeah.
He could have capitulated.
He was influential.
Hitler could have actually just let us do our thing. He saw the English race as like the Germans. Oh, there's some like blue eyes and blonde hair in there, so therefore there's all these crazy thoughts. Anyway, I'll expedite slightly. So that happened. Other nations were fighting for us. Then after the Second World War, India, Nigeria, all these different countries like, excuse me, like, we don't need you anymore. Why are you in our country?
Yeah.
Why are you taking our resources? Why are you telling us what to do?
Yeah.
You were bastards. You took our people as slaves and took them to the Americas, the Caribbean, and sorry, this is not okay. And finally, not finally, but it was a great point in history where those people were able to say no.
Wow.
And then the beauty is that and then we were down on our heels as a nation. We needed help from the Commonwealth, from what we would have called the colonies. And then after the Second World War, we invited everyone from the Caribbean and India, Bangladesh, South Asia, the places that we were ruling.
Yeah.
Then they came to England for a better life. They helped us. They helped with economic growth. They helped drive the buses. They helped doctors, lawyers, lots of professions across all different sectors. And then now it's integrating. And then you help us. Yeah, diversity, man.
Like a real ecosystem.
Yeah, so that's something I really,
this is such a good
love.
articulation of the history of man.
And I'm talking about the Homo spiritus.
Yeah,
in terms of the journey. This is part of that journey.
I can feel it. You're tying it all in. I'm like, holy
this
shit,
This is part
man.
of the journey. This is part of the journey because you then have resistance. And what I will say is, I understand where some prejudice comes from, and it is a whole host of reasons, which is a lack of education, also wanting to understandably hold on to your traditions, and new people are coming in with very different ways of living. There's a shortage of jobs at certain levels, and look, there's a host of reasons that are understandable why racism might occur.
Yeah.
But what will happen over time, and it is happening in England, and it has been happening year by year, decade by decade, generation by generation, it gets better and better and better. And we need to focus on these positives.
Yeah.
Because that is part of the Homo spiritus, which is full inclusion.
Yeah.
And
treat thy neighbor as thyself.
Indeed. And also,
simple as that.
I like the thought that we then take the best from all of these different cultures.
Yes.
In the north, it's cold, so we're just working all the time.
Yes.
Like we're just like, there's nothing else to do, so I might as well build a company, create some security for myself. Yeah. Because I can't be in a cafe with my friend outside, maybe for a couple of weeks in summer. Yeah. And then even then it's not guaranteed, right? No. But then we can bring in the Mediterranean influences and the African influences and the Caribbean and the Asian and the way that the Chinese historically hereditary have looked at the world. And it doesn't mean that we all have to subscribe to the English way of thinking. No. What's happening is that everyone is contributing to that.
Right.
For example, we have a decently sized Muslim population. I really think that they've helped us cut down on our alcohol consumption.
Wow.
Just by not even saying anything.
Just by being there.
Just by being there.
Wow.
And initially there's that resistance of like, oh, Muslims, and like that kind of basic thinking that went on around all sorts, you know. So it's understandable that you know, I definitely don't condone it, but there's that initial bit of resistance. But then you have mosque popping up. You have people that have religion where the English had lost Christianity in a big way, certainly in the cities.
Yeah.
And then you have a Muslim population that aren't drinking. They have community, for me anyway. And then I'm like, look, I don't know. I feel like that is influencing because alcohol consumption is coming down, particularly in young people.
Yeah.
They don't drink the way that we used to drink.
Right? Like it makes so much sense because their children are going to school with other children, and my parents don't drink at all. What do you like? Oh, cool. Oh, so I don't have to drink to be cool around you now. Oh, yes. And the influence ripples.
Yes.
Wow, I feel that.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of what is happening now.
Yeah.
And just one side note: one needs to be careful with the news because you are creating an alarm. Yeah. You're creating an alarm bell in your head of the most shocking, negative news that is happening. And it doesn't mean that you completely cut yourself off. You have to understand what is going on.
Yeah.
But take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
I personally don't I don't look at the news very much at all, but I like to keep abreast of what is going on. There are so many things that I can't help.
Yeah.
If there are opportunities for me to help, I will.
Yeah.
I know that I'm doing my best in what I'm doing and trying to lead from the heart when I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to, you know, lead a good life and help others.
Yeah.
But really, for anyone out there, just turn that consumption down. It's addictive because it will teach you that the world is screwed.
Yeah, and divided.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of wrong things going on and that you need to be careful and maybe don't leave the house maybe.
Yeah.
And, make sure you mask up if you do leave the house.
Oh, man.
You got to be real careful. It's the season coming around.
Man. Talk about control or an opportunity to control.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't go into that, but I think power always seizes an opportunity to control.
Yeah.
Is a hive mind.
For sure. Know? Wow. So I love this whole thread that you just took us on. You were really steering the ship, and that was really beautifully done, by the way, and how you tied that all into Homo Spiritus. Wow. So I feel that now, and I see that of just how much more diverse the world is becoming. And slowly but surely, it's like, the borders are still there. People still say, oh, well, that's the United States of America. That's this country. But like when you go to the country, there's such a diverse background of beings from other countries. It's no longer just all these like white people walking around in Canada. No. Actually, where I grew up, the vast majority of people around me were from Pakistan and or just the Middle East. It was like, so one of my best friends from the Middle East. And I was just like, wow, this is so beautiful and at the time I didn't hold this belief, but now it's just this sense of, wow, it is so beautiful to see people migrating to different places and how that impacts the culture and how it enables us to all live as one and not be so judgmental towards other people. Because if you've never seen somebody with a different color of skin before, you might be shocked when they come across. And that's what it was probably like for people in America when other people started coming in. And like, I don't know if you know the story of Yogananda, but when Yogananda went to Yogananda is this guy from India, and he was absolute legendary guru. He brought yoga to the States, basically. And when he landed in Boston, Massachusetts, I think is where he landed, he took a boat from India. People looked at him funny, He was wearing these robes and this thing, and like he had a jewel and like a red dot, all this stuff. And people were like, whoa, like he would walk down the streets, and he talks about this in his book. And that's because there was nobody like him at that time. But now there's a lot of people. And so now
the robe is
maybe a bit, that might still get some people today. But you know what I mean? It's like now we get to really see and experience all of Earth. And there's this sense of inclusion, not division. And I think that has come through the advancing of technology and airplanes and like affordability to go from India to America or from these countries, and access, we have access to be amongst each other. So I've never really felt into that.
And the slight arc I was making, the karma.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Karma. The irony, we talk about diversity. Now, what was happening 200 years ago is that there were Africans and 300, 2, 3, 4. There were Africans, Indians, indigenous Australians, indigenous Americans. And then not only was there immigration from England, but they had guns.
Yeah.
And they were shooting everyone. Wow. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the way we need to look at this.
Yeah.
We need to zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're talking about karma.
Yeah.
Look, we can't apologize for our ancestors, but I think we can zoom out a little bit and be like, right, the karma here is that we built nations off the back of other people's
lives,
enslaved lives.
Yeah.
Now we have rich states in the United States, Canada, Australia, UK, other countries. It's time to give back, man. And or not even give back, but like you
live from a place of love.
Yeah, live from a place of love. And also, I think that is part of the karma. Yeah. It's the karma. It's the karma that you went around being bad boys.
Yeah.
And not leading from love. And actually, it's only fair that some of that wealth is it's not even given. It's like, if you want to come and have a crack, of the American dream or whatever, which is probably not the healthiest notion.
No,
but yeah.
But still, but
something. But at least, at the very least, security for your family.
Yeah.
I think if we zoom out, that's part of the Homo spiritus journey of evolvement and reflection and self-awareness and inclusion. Personally, I don't think we're at a place where we can just open up borders, because a lot needs to be done for equilibrium.
Yeah.
And that's where you lead from love, and nations do everything they can to harness strong states.
Yeah.
Like I like to think that I'm grounded in a sense of, it's not necessarily reality, because sometimes we need big paradigm shifts, but in a sense of how government and states work. It's not, I'm not saying, hey, let's invite all nations, all people in, and everything will be fine, because it would be chaos.
And there's still some groups that are very radical and they want to kill a lot of people.
Man, yeah, there is
that's why we got some
there is, man, yeah, there's a very, very, very small proportion of people that would be included in that as well. Yeah. But sorry, I just wanted to finish that arc of karma, because it's coming back round, and I really, this is positive thinking, right? But I do like to be optimistic, and I think we always have that opportunity. Like we were saying earlier, are you a victim, or do you nag? Or, I smashed a bowl, shit, on the floor, fuck's sake, why do I always do that?
Yeah.
Or do you be like, I'm going to stretch my hamstrings in this, and I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to be mindful.
Yeah.
I'm going to breathe. I'm going to be still. It's a shame I've lost the bowl. I'm going to take a bit more care next time.
Yeah.
You genuinely can do that.
Yeah.
And that's having that autonomy and that sovereignty. And then if you can continue to do that, you are resonating that frequency.
Yeah.
And then that vibrancy is just, it's pulsating from you. You don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
And then people are magnetized towards you, and they want to know what the secret is.
What's going on?
And don't I'm not saying I'm that, because I am not always that. Yeah. But sometimes I can get to that. Yeah. And then people are intrigued. And they're like, what's going on with this person? This is like, even if you're not wearing a robe. So that slight arc there, but tying up a few of the points we spoke about.
I love that point a lot, man. That's incredible. I do strongly believe in this, that by virtue of that which you are, regardless of where you are, is impacting all of mankind. So you could be in the Himalayas, in the mountaintop by yourself, but if you're a real yogi and all you know is peace because you're meditating all day, you are you're like a beacon for mankind. You're shooting out the peace. It's pulsing out of you. And I don't think a lot of people maybe fully understand this concept, and it's fine. Some people want to be on social media and they want to like post things or make a podcast and like share a message, but also you don't have to. And it will be just as impactful with mankind if you can just be at a place of peace within yourself, within all interactions. I love the bowl analogy, and I love this sense of you radiate out that which you are, and it impacts everybody, regardless if you're on a camera or behind closed doors.
Definitely. If we want to explain it completely rationally, it would be in one's body language, or how you hold yourself, or how you speak, or how you hold someone's gaze, or the way you move. I believe that we have a frequency, a heart emanating frequency, like the ancient Egyptians believed our heart to be a truly spiritual part of our being, and a connection to things that are greater than us, and the choices we make, the thoughts we have, that affects the heart, and then the heart is beating that frequency out, and then we can feel that, and then we are either drawn, repelled. Sometimes people can be saying very nice things to us, and they can be smiling, but we're like, the vibe is not good, man.
Yeah, there's a serpent somewhere.
There's a vibe that I need to stay away from. Like, and I certainly have had a naivety to me before, where I've thought that everyone is
loving,
benevolent.
If they're smiling and saying all the right things,
they have your best interest at heart, and there's not an ulterior motive, or they're not going to attempt to drain you of your energy, because they are a vampire. Do you know what I mean?
That's a whole.
And I know we could go into like a more of a low vibration, maybe that's a little bit more low frequency chat, but
no, I like that. That's a important thread.
Yeah.
Because especially in the spiritual community, let's say, with these people that are like psychic, they consider themselves psychic. The worst, not the worst, but like I'll define it as the worst, is someone who can speak the spiritual lingo and say all the right words and wear all the right clothes and have the right tonality and the right smile and the right gaze, but it's all behind training of showing up in this way, and it actually becomes a mask. And so when you're doing these things, whatever you do, you have to do it by virtue of that which you truly feel like you are. It has to be a calling from the heart if you're smiling and looking at somebody, or if you're wearing this thing. It can't be because you're trying to be this mask of this like enlightened being, or this person who just has it all figured out, or is just so benign and loving. And wow, has that showed up for me in Portugal. There's been some interactions where I've just felt like, whoa, it took me a hot minute to see that there's a big mask on. But now that I see it, I love you. And there's a barrier that's like the Great Wall of China, and I cannot let you pass through into my field.
It's a learning for me over the last. It's been recent.
Me too. This year,
and we were doing some inner child work, weren't we? At the ecstatic dance together, and we touched on that when we paired up. And it's not always consciously malevolent, negative behavior. It's a learned behavior, but one needs to be careful if you're. If you're looking after yourself and you're trying to do the best and be mindful and show up and be loving and be kind, and then other people are turning up and they appear to be doing the same, but actually energetically, psychologically, maybe even soulfully, the intention is to drain you. It's like, what can I get from this experience? What can I take? Rather than how can we collaborate and like help and have fun and like boost each other. But I think that's comes with the territory of, again, one has to be careful. One needs to be humble here. I haven't got everything sorted out for sure. No, but if you're working towards that, then that can be seen by other people, and then
manipulated.
People want a piece of it, and they want a little shortcut, and they want to reverse engineer what you've done, and in the worst circumstances, they might want to control you.
Whoa.
And does happen. I've been in that situation.
Wow, I have too.
Well, I've been controlled.
Wow.
And I'm a grown man.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily their intention.
Can't put a man in a cage.
Man, dude. Not a free spirit.
No.
Come on.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Not a warrior free spirit, but it's not always intentional. They've learned that from their parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I bond?
It's an unconscious militia.
How do I bond? This person seems to be so free flowing and easygoing that I might be able to actually steer them in the direction that I want, or judge them if they're not doing the thing, or
control them.
And honestly, I watch out for those things in myself.
Yeah.
Because they've been done to me.
Right. And that's the thing. You can only have an awareness of it if you've either received it or done it.
Or have the capacity of doing it as
well. Have the capacity of doing it. Yeah.
Having the capacity.
That's a really good call out.
But I agree. All of those things are
the capacity.
True.
To
yeah.
do it.
I think that's
a fucking key one.
We all have the capacity to do lots of things, and we choose the higher way as often as we can and continue to do that. I think some things are just hardwired, right? Murder and horrible things like that. It's like, I feel like I could, in a war situation, I could probably deal some damage, but I have no calling to be ending anyone's life, right? So some things, and not to everyone, obviously, because there are murder rates out there, but I think there is something that you can. There's that notion of what you spot and judge in others is what you have within yourself.
Yeah.
However, you need to be careful because that's a cop out. That's a cop out from the people that behave like knobs, as we would say in England.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, well, what you've seen in me is what you have within yourself. And
spiritual bypassing.
Or are you just being a prick?
Yeah.
Are you just being a prick?
Yeah.
You're coming into my space.
Yes.
Approaching me in
it's
whatever.
The story of my life in Portugal.
Really?
Yes, what you just said.
Are we allowed?
You've just defined.
You want to unpack it, or is it too much?
I do want to touch on it. I need to pee.
Yeah, cool.
Do you need to pee too?
Yeah, I'd like to pee.
Okay, and then we'll come back and we'll touch on that, and then we'll wrap it up a little bit.
Cool, man.
This has been epic.
Hello.
Dude, your voice.
It sounds good in the mic.
It's so incredible.
It's quite rich.
It is. No, it's the podcast radio voice.
It's quite, yeah.
And then you got the accent, and it's just like, it's too much. It's almost too much for me to handle. I'm like, wow. It's got that, just that ease of listening to it. It's like, wow.
That's really kind of you.
It's so crisp.
It does sound good.
It is crisp.
If I may.
This is what it sounds like all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
Really amplified in these headphones. But when I hear you speak, it's like, wow, holy shit, man's got a voice.
Yeah, people often say that to me, but you don't take it.
You may be,
you have,
you're like, okay.
Yeah, no, you should do a podcast. Well, I'm doing one. Oh, thank you.
Dude, well, we're coming to the final quarter, if you will, and maybe I'll touch briefly on the Portugal thing, and because what we were talking about was this almost like serpent-like energy that you can come into an interaction with that looks so benign and loving, but deep down there's an unconscious militia. And this is what I've found to be true for me in several occasions over the last 3 to 6 months, where there's a being that isn't even aware. They're not aware of it. That's why I call it unconscious militia. I've never really fully had any interactions with someone who I would say is consciously being malicious to me. I just haven't necessarily had that per se in this life. Maybe in high school, but not any time recently. The energy for me that I experienced in Portugal came with a deep-rooted sense of control. So there's very subtle energies that were felt, and I'll give some real examples. These are good examples. Imagine you're talking to somebody. You're having a conversation, and I'm walking up, and I just want to ask you for something real quick that I know you have on you. Let's say you have a lighter on you, okay? We're friends. I know you. You know me. Great. You're talking to somebody, though, and I walk up to you, and I'm doing my best to politely ease my way in because I don't want to interrupt the conversation, but I also want to ask for this thing that I know is in your pocket. And let's say I can't reach in your pocket, you have to reach in and grab it. So I kind of nestle in. I'm like, hey, can I get the lighter real quick? And you, being the serpent, unconsciously malicious, yes, you just keep talking to the person that you're talking to, and almost you don't even really, maybe you look at me for a half second, but you don't acknowledge me fully, and then you keep talking, and then maybe 5 seconds later, after talking to the person that you were talking to, you look at me and you're like, yeah, sure, here it is. And it's a subtle thing. It's a very subtle thing. You have the choice to come from a very loving place, and you have the capacity to just immediately look at the person, realize that they're not trying to interrupt your conversation. They don't want to interrupt your conversation, but you have something that would be really helpful to them. Be of service to them. Yeah, of course. Like, here you go. Great. And then you continue the conversation. But instead, it's almost like, nah, you stay in that cage for 5 seconds and just know that I hold something that you don't, and I'm going to hold it on me. And I'm going to do this thing, this dance of like, I hear you, but I'm not acknowledging you in real time. So very subtle energy, very subtle.
So who are you? Which one are you? Are you the one with the lighter?
No,
you're trying to get the lighter.
I'm the one trying to get the lighter.
And you've experienced people that are like power play.
A very subtle sense of power being played out. So subtle that it's not worth mentioning, because I know it's unconscious in the being. And so that's just one really basic example, but there was countless examples with this being that were just like that were along this same thread of like, I want to have the control.
Well, the lesson is you got to give up smoking, Taylor.
So the lighter was actually a hypothetical example.
I know.
Okay, cool.
That was a joke.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's a really good analogy.
Okay.
I like that a lot, because you can be the person with the lighter, and you can be the person that needs the lighter, and you're not intentionally, either withholding something or trying to take something, but it is the nature of existence, and before you know it, we're taking liberties. That's when friendships can. It's the. I don't like it when they become contracts, and then you're then part of someone's drama. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, and this is what it was.
Or the toxicity, or I don't like it when you're pulled into all of their world, and it's your responsibility as well, and then their unhappiness, and you need to be there. And
oh wow,
yeah,
you're speaking about the whole experience.
Oh really?
Yeah, this is everything.
It really.
I was in that being's life for like 2 weeks.
Oh,
and I came out of it at the end, and the big lesson. Sorry to cut you off and kind of go.
No, this is good.
But like communication.
Yeah.
So I was witnessing it from someone who was more of someone who was just on the outside. And there was some big dramas that were occurring amongst different beings. And one of those beings happened to have been my partner. And so I'm really directly involved, even though I'm not directly involved. But I am very involved, even though I'm not directly involved. And so there was this sense of, where do I stand in all of this? Because here I am just being the partner and bearing witness to this unconscious militia. What do I do? And so I just kind of thought, oh, I'm just going to be an unconditionally loving being and accept this being as they are, and keep my distance and my space, because I'm not going to entangle myself with something that makes me feel this way all the time, or doesn't feel in a harmonious resonance, right? And so it just escalated, got worse and worse. And then it finally got to the point where one night, we were together this night, I just was like, we all need to have a conversation. Let's all sit down and have a family conversation. And we were all just holding hands, and I set the space, and I said, this is a very loving space, yada, yada, yada. Like, let's have a vulnerable share amongst all beings. And there was maybe 4 or 5 of us in the circle, 4 of us in the circle. And it didn't actually unfold that night. everybody, like the bean specifically, just wanted to go home that night, wasn't ready to have the conversation, so we had it the next morning. And it was such a beautiful clearing, and it was a loving conversation, and that bean was held in a loving way. And while they were crying, and there's 3 of us that were holding this bean, and it was really beautiful. But in the end of all of it, my realization was, it was just clear communication, and nobody else that was directly involved wanted to do it. And so I had to like come in and be like, I can't handle this anymore. So I'm just going to say, let's all have a conversation. Someone else should have done it maybe sooner, should have, but like the opportunity to step in and kind of be that masculine force of, here's a safe container, now everyone have a conversation. Because I don't really have much to say in this, but I've been feeling it, dear Lord. So it was a lot of that. And in the very end of all of it, conscious communication, just open, safe communication, but also just, it's okay to say no. And if someone really loves you and they want to hang out with you, but you're sensing this unconscious militia or just a disresonance, let's say, you don't have to say yes. You can just say, nah, I'm good, thanks, I love you. That's it. You don't need to explain why that is. And what I was maybe fearing was like, oh, I don't want to have to tell this being about all these subtle energies that I'm picking up on, because they may not get it. And it's like, it might make them think they're insane or something. I don't know. I just didn't feel it was the right thing to say. And so I think for me, it was just this realization of, one, you can say no and you don't need any explanation. That's it. You can say no from a loving place, and you don't even need to explain why. It was a big one.
That's a big one, man. And there's a few years in between us, and it's taken me, I'm still integrating that. I don't have to explain myself. Right. I don't have to be friends with everyone. I don't need to fix everyone. I don't, it's all of these things,
It's a tough one.
It's difficult because if you have a big heart,
yes,
and you like,
this is the thing.
You like connecting with people.
Yeah.
Then you're like, hey, let's be friends, or like, what are we gonna do? Oh, cool. And then, but there is a point where one needs to preserve your energy, and also, it's the people you spend time with. It's important.
It is.
Like, and I think but also knowing who you are is even more important, and not flowing too much with what other people are thinking or doing. And that takes a lot of self-awareness, and it actually takes a lot of it actually takes a bit of rigidity in what can be flow, because it is fun to just flow and be like, oh, and then there's this person and that person, and we could do that, and I could be in a relationship with this person for a bit, and I wonder where that's exciting. If you love life and you love all of the intricacies and possibilities, then it's really easy to be the yes guy. Let's do this, let's do that, let's socialize. But actually, there's just as much more power, I suppose you could say, in saying no.
Clear boundaries.
Clear boundaries, Taylor. Boundaries. Yeah. I have only just learnt this. Boundary. I mean, implicitly, I've always known and been able to set them, but to actually say, hey, I know that you see this relationship going a certain way, and these are the projections that you have of how you see that going. I'm different to that, and these are. It's the world of being a people pleaser. So I'm a people pleaser. I just, in the environment that I grew up in, I needed to be for my safety.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real.
Certainly. Yeah. I've spoke about it before, but the area was quite tough. So you got to make friends. You got to ingratiate. You got to make allies quick.
It's a primal thing.
It's a primal. I need to be your friend.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could be an enemy. And that's
right.
And also I have a bigger stature, and I can be a threat to people, and I've never wanted to be. So it's always been it's always been like, hey man, like I'm safe, like you're good, like I'm not going to cause any. I'm not a threat. I'm not going to cause any trouble here.
Yeah.
And then also being an environment that's quite tough, quite sort of physical violence is ever present.
Yeah.
So again, you're not being a people pleaser in that situation, but you are figuring out what you need to do to survive and not get your head kicked in.
Yeah.
And people pleasing is one of the tools that we learn. We get taught that by our parents, because if we're not pleasing them, we get punished.
Yes.
And we all get taught that. And then at school, we need friends.
Yeah.
So how do we please people? And then in business,
teacher.
We got egos in business, and people understandably want to be treated a certain way and managed a certain way. And it's how do I? If you're not careful, you're really moving away from your core values and who you are as a spirit.
Yeah.
And this is where, for me, I'm still integrating the spiritual life.
This is my favorite thing ever that you do when you say that.
The spiritual journey and life, man, and reality.
Yeah.
Because we have both. And I still want to be able to be friends and be family members and communicate with people that think that what I do is weird in my spare time.
Yeah.
And how I think is weird. But I know, I believe in myself, and I back myself, and I know that we need to have open minds and open hearts and understand that there are greater forces at play.
Yes.
And
the dealer.
The dealer.
Yeah, the dealer, the one who deals the cards.
Oh, okay.
Reference to God.
Oh, I see. No, oh, dealer. I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. Dealer. Yes. Anyway, I think I kind of came to a slightly abrupt end of my point there. But,
well, yeah, no, it was a beautiful point, and it was tying all back to original thread that may be beyond us.
Oh, it was boundaries. It was saying no.
Yeah. Oh, and how the programming of not being able to say no and just saying no can come from people pleasing in a primal sense to survive. And
yeah.
Wow, that was an incredible point of like, where does it come from? Well, it depends on the environment that you're raised in. It could just be from your parents. It could be from the streets that you grew up on, being really like sketchy, and ones that you need to be friends with people, and so you don't die. And when you're coming out of that programming of being a people pleaser and just saying yes, it comes up as an adult in simple settings where maybe, and even this morning there was someone who asked me about the podcast, and I almost didn't want to talk about it because I was a little bit afraid they might ask to be on it. And I was like, I sensed this come up in me, and I was like, whoa, Taylor, take a look at that. It was this observation of, whoa, hold on. You don't need to be afraid or suppress your excitement for this thing that you're doing just because this is someone that you may not per se want to do a session with, even though it seems like they may want to do one. It was such an interesting thread, and it came from the people-pleasing sense. And people-pleasing is important in tribal settings because if you don't have a tribe, you're going to die. And so it's a primal thing that we're integrating and surrendering.
Definitely.
Right?
And that thought process that you just explained is something that I have a lot in different carnations,
scenarios.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is it basically comes down to, I'm not going to be able to express myself truthfully to this person because it's going to hurt their feelings.
Right. What?
You know? Oh my God. Like, you're going to disappoint people. We're going to disappoint people.
Yeah. Can't please everybody.
No. And the travesty will be is if you're 90, hopefully 100 years old, and you look back and you lived your lives for others. You lived your life to please others.
Scary.
That is the travesty. And if you are constantly being pulled from one person's what they need you to be to another
one
person's
vampire
what
to
you
the next.
Yes, certainly that, and people that aren't even,
or even just regular people,
vampires, but even just people but even just normal people like your mum and your dad, and they're like, I need you to be the son that I recognize, and I don't understand. You're being weird.
Yeah,
like, do you know what I mean? It's like, well, okay, I don't mind putting these different hats on. It's fine. And I don't mind you basically just censor yourself to different people. That's what I find that I do. But actually, I've learned to be less, I'm a super open person.
Yeah.
And one of the facets that I've been working on is actually, I don't need to be open to everyone. They don't need to know.
Yeah, me too.
They don't need to know all the elements of my soul or what's going on.
Yeah.
Like it's what vulnerability is important, and I can be vulnerable, but man, you don't need to be doing that, and you don't need to be constantly people pleasing, because you are not going to end up where either you're destined to be or where you can self-actualize and be the best version of yourself, whether that's what God intended or what Myers-Briggs believed in. And it's difficult though to say, no, I need boundaries, or yes, I'd like to be friends, but for me, it looks like that. Like it's an interesting one, but I hear you on that.
Wow. And it all ties to the original thread of clear communication.
Ah, yes.
And that was what I learned in Portugal, is this clear communication in a scary sense with a more serpent-like energy, you could say. And just in the end, wow, it resolved itself so beautifully in such a way where I was like, wow, the fact that there was any fear blows my mind. But that's how big the energy was to me in my mind. I was like, whoa, man, I don't want to hurt anybody. And then you realize, well, you're hurting yourself and everybody by not saying something, by not just being clear in your communication. So actually, in the end, it was really beautiful. It was just a sense of like, hey, I love you. I see you. I recognize you as another being, and I just want to be in my own field. And I almost struggle to say this to you because I don't want it to be taken personally, and I don't want it to hurt you. But this is where I'm at. And it was received like, wow, I'm really grateful that you've said this, because I've felt that there's something going on and I don't really know what's going on. And then it makes me confused. And I'm still trying to hang out or be there for you. When in reality, deep down, you're like, I don't want anybody to be there for me. And there's just, it was received so beautifully. And I was like, wow, okay, got it. Just clear communication.
Keep practicing, and every time there's an opportunity to do that, do it, because I feel exactly the same. And if you're empathic, if you can feel other people's energies and read other people's body language and just get a sense of who they are, we have all of that intelligence within us. Then what we need to be careful of is that, yes, we can read certain things, but we're also, some of us are psychic, but you might not be understanding the whole picture. I'm talking for myself. Like people, we're always reading in between the lines a little bit. You're not going to get the clear picture, right? And then it builds and it builds and it builds, and the tension and the mind reading and the lack of communication. And then that comes out in lots of different ways. And you have the avoidant type and the kind of more confrontational type. And it's a whirlwind, but for people that are a bit older than us, probably have got this down. I do not everyone, but
I would agree.
But I do think it's something that you pick up over time, because you're like, why do I even care about these things? It doesn't matter. Like I think that does come with age and experience.
Well, I love that. I agree.
I think
fully.
so. I think so. And then life will keep, God, life, nature, circumstances will keep throwing up different opportunities for you to grow and to learn, and it's showing you how you need to show up and what you need to do. And usually it's the things that are so hard and that you don't want to do and you don't want to face to because they're scary, because you're going to hurt someone, or it's with a guy and they're aggressive, and it could even end in something that's aggressive, and all these different things are running through your head, and it's like your organism, God, your spirit is desperate for you to meet those challenges. Wow. It's desperate so you can grow and you can be more aligned with who you are, and then you can shine. You can give back. You can make sure your cup is full, and then you're able, and that is only by saying no. that's my boundary, or that's not for me, or it's and when you move to a new place, these things come out. They've come out for me as well.
Yeah.
When you're meeting new people and new energies and new expectations and letting go of old ways of being, or even old friendships, and what are you carving out for yourself, and what are you opening yourself up to? And of course, when you have that more spiritually inclined mind, is everything happening for a reason? But then we do have agency to say no, because if we're just going with everything,
correct,
we can't.
Such a fine line.
It's a fine line.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, you danced around that one really well.
Yeah, there was a dance.
That was a really good dance, because it was a tough one to articulate.
Yeah.
But you really swung it together in a way where it's like, it's not really this, but it's also not really that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's this constant thing of like, it's both a little bit.
But it's the duality and the balance, and never. Yeah. And you have to have grayscale thinking. You can't think black and white in this world. Personally,
I love that grayscale thinking.
Personally, I mean, no, grayscale is not as nice as like full. Maybe we should say full Technicolor thinking is a better way. Let's do that, because
I also love the blend of like yin and yang.
Well, yes, that's right. Well, yeah, there is the duality in the yes,
the blend of like both, of the two. Really, what is the color of black and white coming together?
It is the grayscale.
I love that,
and
that's beautiful.
You do have very opposing ways, but I just think from a mindset point of view, I don't like this person. I don't believe in that political party. Not me. Not my identity.
Yeah.
I don't. It's like, great, you've got an opinion. It's good to have an opinion. But I would say it's more powerful to have an open mind and be ready to be surprised, because we all think we're so clever.
Yeah.
But actually, we ain't that clever, because we've still got loads to learn.
Loads of shit.
And whether we think it or not, we are judging, and we are putting people in little boxes. And look, some things fit neatly, but also I think for your own internal world, your own inner peace, multifaceted, technicolored, grayscale thinking is far more harmonious and beneficial to the being than just going around and putting everything into its black or white box.
Yeah. I love that as a moment, man. We have a bell for that. Beautiful.
Got another bell.
Yeah, you got a lot of bells. Oh my God. This one, man. Wow. So something that came up while you were saying all that was you were talking about how the spirit feels that you need to go and have that tough conversation or do that tough thing that you're afraid of doing. It's the challenges that like make us and shape us and turn us from like a rock into a diamond, it's like, that's the stuff. It's that pressure that just like, whoa. And if you can lean into that, amazing. And if you don't, I remember reading this quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but when I was 19, it went something along the lines of, do not live a life that leads you to, don't live in a way where you're a quiet life of desperation. Is what it was.
Here, because if you are constantly avoiding, and look, it's a scary place out there.
It is,
and
it can be.
It can be. Sorry, again, nuance. It can be at times. It can also be very beautiful and everything in between. But if you're just going with the flow and taking the easy option and not facing up to those difficult decisions and the things that are in your mind, first of all, they will riddle you.
Wow.
And they will steal you of your inner peace.
Yes.
Because you haven't dealt with it. Yeah. Sometimes it might not be that you have to have the conversation. Maybe you write the letter and you don't post the letter, that sort of processing.
Yeah, for sure, I love that.
Or maybe you do have some counseling, or you speak to someone that you can be really open to, and you talk through these issues fully. But if you're burying your head in the sand, and you're not addressing these issues in whatever. You could even address them through ecstatic dance.
You can do it in so many ways.
You could be
this.
You could be moving. You could be like journaling. You could be. We don't all have to. But if it's like, oh, it's a bit difficult.
I'm just gonna play some video games or turn on Netflix. Sweep it under the rug.
Like life's dealt me this really bad cards and it's like, no, what it wants you to do is it wants you to be the best version of yourself. And I don't mean, this is not in this one. You have to be careful because self-improvement is this massive thing, and then there's a psychology of I'm not enough. So you need to be careful not to get
such a fine line.
It's a fine line. It's the glass half full. I like that. I think it comes back to that
fine line.
Yeah, it's like I am enough, and I've got room to grow.
Expand.
And why do I want to grow? Well, why? Because then I can show up and I can be there for other people. And it doesn't mean I think when I started to believe in other forces at play, whatever you may call that. The dealer. Yeah, I like a dealer. Knew a few of those growing up. I think once you're sort of open to that. Oh, Taylor, I've lost my train of thought there.
We were talking about this happens all the time, first of all, so don't worry. It's like literally every podcast, you're in the infinite ocean, and all of a sudden, where were we?
It was a slight tangent that I couldn't keep on. Forces at play. Oh, yeah. Different forces at play. And then, yes, of course, you're dealt different cards. But often... It's the irony, isn't it? Like the cards could be that you were born into this super wealthy family, but you are going to be miserable if you're not careful because you've got everything for you. You didn't have to struggle. That's the irony of it. You were from such a rich background and your father and mother didn't have the foresight to keep money and privilege away from you and instill that you start off again. I like the notion that, again, this is an old warrior kind of notion that you don't get what your dad got. You build your own. Like even if
I love that.
Even if or your mother, even if your mother or your father had built up all of this, and it doesn't have to necessarily be financial, because obviously that's like the clearest indicator for us. But for some people, it can be they were a writer or did something great that didn't always necessarily come to financial fruition, although money as an energy tends to follow presence of mind, creativity. It does follow. Not always, but it does. But I like the old warrior notion that she or he did that before you, but now it's your turn. You start from zero. Maybe in a bit, maybe when you're 50, you're going to get some cash. But maybe if I deem you not to be, but if you've got yourself into a position where if you're fit enough for it, are you is your spirit, are you authentically yourself, and can you handle this money? Oh no, you couldn't. You became a drug addict. You felt sorry for yourself because your daddy was so successful, and then you didn't have to do anything. But even then, you can be like, oh, I did it because my dad's name or whatever. But I guess the point there is we're dealt all these different cards. Sometimes we think that the cards we're dealt are so unfair. They actually turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. Because you weren't from money or shit, you didn't have a leg, but you ended up being a Paralympic champion. And then that led on to
so
this
many
and led
wonderful
on to
stories
that.
like
And these
that.
are like, I am pinching from old proverbs, where they talk about you think something bad has happened to you, and it turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. in so many ways.
So many.
And this is obviously about acceptance and understanding and thinking, is there good or bad? I mean, bloody hell, sometimes it feels like it's really bad, and sometimes it feels very, very good. But apparently I'm led to believe it isn't either of those. I mean, I'm not quite there, but I do sometimes integrate that, and I do know the bad things. Yeah. I know. I'm like, oh, what do I have to learn? Yeah. What is, or what might come of this, you know? Yeah. So that is the magic of life.
Wow. You know, that might be the podcast name, the episode. Man. The magic of life.
Oh.
Satori story.
Beautiful.
With Ben Taylor.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, gorgeous. Please do if you deem that a name that you...
I think it really sums up everything that we're talking about.
You know what? I'm on a quest, right? I'm seeking.
Nice. I just saw you as like a knight going through like the forest.
I'm on a quest, man. I'm on adventure. I've always felt like I've been questing, adventuring, and
it's been so good.
Yeah, it's for truth. It's for myself and other people, and it's like, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. What bits of information can I bolt on here or understand? And I like the quest. It makes life an adventure.
Yeah.
And there's so much to learn and integrate. And you know, we can talk the talk. You can only really walk the walk once you've got the cuts and bruises. I think personally.
Yeah, a few scars, man.
You need a few scars.
Yeah, you look at someone's body, and I mean, look, man. I feel that Jesus had some scars on him.
Yeah.
Quite obvious.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and that seems to be what occurs when you really try to go down this really loving path. Is you're gonna get some scars no matter what, energetically, physically, whatever it might be. I don't know, man. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's not all just roses, you know? We bleed sometimes. That's just part of the journey. And that's a wonderful thing, you know, to know that like, damn, this little body might die someday. And it will.
Yeah.
And that's part of this like sense of why this life feels so good and so real is because, wow, man, take a breath. Like, might not do that tomorrow. You don't know, you know? Like,
there's an urgency in a good way.
In a good way. A sense of like, wow, I really want to enjoy this for all it's worth. You know,
living to 200 would change everything.
Wow.
Because things would lose its meaning.
Wow. It would be so different. So much would change.
It really would. The sense of, because you get that moment in life of a sense of mortality, right? You know, you're not around forever. And then that can send you into a bit of a, I need to experience everything all of the time.
Yeah, that's certainly as soon as possible.
That's certainly something I've done. I really then lent into sensations and feelings and exploring different countries and, oh my God. But then you can rush and then you remember that the true beauty is in cleaning that broken plate off of the floor.
Washing the dishes.
Man.
The best.
Cliche, a bit lame, but so true. Because it is the present moment. It is literally all we have. And when we're resisting that present moment, creating tension in the mind and in the body, this is when illness starts. So it's
a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I do with these bell moments?
Tell me.
I cut them out of the podcast and put them on as videos, like trailers for the episode.
Oh man,
because they're special moments.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, that's why we have the bell.
Oh man.
So
wow,
I'm
honored.
I don't know how many 4 bells or something, but so there'll be like 4 clips of just you speaking these things.
Dude.
And then people, if they want to listen to the full 2-hour journey or whatever it is, they can go tune into it.
Oh man.
Yeah. You've had so many incredible moments where I'm just like, whoa, that was amazing.
Oh man. Well, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And obviously, you know, that's the things that I say are a combination of
have learned things, but of course I'm borrowing them at times as well. But I feel like I try and live them.
Yes,
I try to live
and
them.
I feel that.
I think that's the authenticity that maybe you can feel. Is
for
that
sure.
I'm not just saying it.
No,
I'm trying to live it.
You are.
Yeah. And some of those things are learned. The tension and the illness was that's something I learned. I mean, maybe I heard it as well, but that a lot of the autoimmune diseases and a whole host of other things, I believe, are down to the constant muscular, psychological, emotional dis-ease with the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not happy. I don't like my job. I'm like this. I'm that. And like sometimes things are tough, right? But it's like I need to be here. I need to be there. Rushing out of the moment.
Yeah.
I need to wash the dishes because then I can watch telly. I literally do that. I need to get this out of the way.
Oh, I've done that a million
I need
times.
to get it out of the way. I need to get. Then I need to get the podcast. And then I need to get that out of the way because then I get that out of the way. And then I get that out of the way. It's like there's nothing to get out of the way because it's here.
Yeah.
It's literally here and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And you can point yourself into the right direction and you can slowly move into these higher vibrational paths and lives. But remember, if you're fighting the moment, you're basically telling yourself, I don't like it, or no, or something's wrong. Yeah. It's like it's ringing alarm bells.
Yeah.
So the alarm bells are going off, and then your chi, your energetic force, your life force is then like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why are you not happy? And we can't see. Well, I mean, we can see through the eyes, but all your body can see is like objective reality, right? In a way, or what you're feeding it.
Yeah.
And if you're telling it, I'm stressed. It's like, oh, okay. And then I believe some illness is there to teach you to stop.
Yeah.
Look, things like cancer and the heavy stuff, I don't have an answer for that. But some of the milder things are just their warning signs to change, to turn starboard. Change course. Oh boy, we want to head to Iceland, darling. Yeah. We've already done the Outer Hebrides. Come on, let's go. Starboard. Let's spread the love and joy. No more raping and pillaging.
Yes. Oh, fucking incredible, dude! This has been an episode, a wonderful episode.
Oh man,
it's been so good, man. Dude, I have the utmost gratitude for you coming in, and I just loved the journey of getting here with you. It was such a fun dance of like, want to do a thing? And you're like, I have to know what it is. And I was like, oh, okay, and I'll tell you a little bit. Even when you sat down before we started, you're like, so what's the podcast about? I was like, I'll tell you when we start. You're like, no, like, tell me right
now. Come
on,
you got to tell me. You got
I'll give you a little something.
Yeah, you got to tell me because that's a newer thing. Because you're putting your name to something and
you're opening yourself up to mankind.
Yeah. Now I was pretty sure you weren't a far right Canadian nationalist. I got the vibe you weren't, but if I had do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, you don't know what you're walking into.
You don't know. And what were your other podcasts about? And then suddenly I'm on it and it's like
maybe I brought you into a trap, spider's nest.
You've got to
never know.
Got to be a bit skeptical in this world.
And I loved that about you. You were kind of like, hold on, man. What's it all about?
Yeah, what are you about, man? What's this
I know we got the same name in reverse.
Yeah, I mean, it's not enough. I've got such a rational mind that I know we are mirroring each other.
Dude, I wanna end this with a prayer.
Yeah, lovely.
I wrote this.
Oh, nice.
So I'll read it off. To thee, O Lord, I pray, make me an instrument of thy sublime peace. May all beings live upon this world as brothers and sisters, in full remembrance that they are in this world, but not of it. By thy grace may Maya's veil be lifted for all, revealing thy ineffable beauty radiating from all that is. Guide me so that I may be of service to mankind in the highest. Give me the strength to lay down my life before thee, to surrender all that I think I am, so I may realize all that I truly am. May thy will be my will. Om Shanti, Amen. Yeah, man. You want to close off, final words from you? Just prayer of any kind. Doesn't have to sound holy. Could literally just be 2 words.
Yeah. My brief off the cuff prayer would be that we all find the strength to fill our cups in order to fill the cups of others.
Yes. And fill your cup first, man. So you can fill other people's cups. When the airplane's crashing, you put on your oxygen mask first. That's what they tell you to do.
You'll be in a whole host of trouble if you're trying to help other people before you've grounded yourself. And
wow, that's such a good prayer. I really love that a lot.
And I mean that on a grander scale with conflict and everything from the darkest elements of humanity to the very, very small interactions that we have when we're buying our groceries.
Everything.
Yeah, we've got a way to go with consciousness, but it's happening.
I love that, man. And I'm gonna bring her back to port.
Oh, it's good to see land again.
Yeah. Wonderful, man.
Gorgeous. This ship is she's a beauty.
She shines.
Gorgeous.
You see those floors, man?
I just love rubbing.
Pristine.
The deck is it's a fine ship, Taylor.
Fine vessel. And now you're on it. Forever.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I like it.
Forever.
Yeah, I can do this.
Yeah. Dude. Something I actually have for you is a marker, and you'll get to put whatever you want to put on that mic. And it could just be a symbol, it could be your name, it could be anything small, and you don't need to spend more than 2 minutes doing it.
Yeah.
It could be whatever you feel called to put on it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of making your mark upon the ship.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I have the markers.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the markers.
I'd love to.
Right now.
I'd love to.
Dude, thank you for coming on. This was so special.
That was so fun. Thank you.
Dude.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap.
Oh, man. Let's have a hug, dude.
2.5 hours deep. We made it.
Whoa, that was so
Spaceship,
fun.
man.
Thank you.
Pals production. Yay!